This is Telltale Guys, Secrets of the Pineal Gland.
What's your ETA? We'll be there in 2 minutes. Come on, we have lives to save here.
All right, welcome back to Telltale Guys, two guys with tales to tell. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is my man Zane. Zane, how's it going?
It is going pretty well. I'm glad the week is wrapping up. Got to do some exciting chores, clean out my basement, get it organized.
Adulting.
Adulting. It's the best.
That doesn't sound fun.
Well, you've had your house for a while, so I'm sure you're fairly organized at this point. Ours is new, and we are still unpacking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's always a hassle with the unpacking. I kind of dread, like, if I ever move, I'm like, do I want to just sell everything and then move? Because it's like, I want to deal with boxing up all this stuff. It's so much.
Do you have like a lot of stuff, or are you pretty?
Yes, I'm kind of a pack rat. Plus, I have all my art supplies. It's a lot, It's I'm sure Evelyn wouldn't mind if she threw out 90 to 98% of my things. She's tried before, but I'm like, hey, no, I need that shoelace from the 8th grade.
It's got sentimental value.
Well, you never know when you need it. I'm not so much the sentimental person, just like I never know when I need something. That's kind of thing. One time I had it's kind of off topic, but back when I was younger and still kind of bouncing around, getting my footing and stuff like that, I had a car, a Dodge Stratus, very, very fly car. But in the trunk, I had like all the stuff that I've had throughout my moves just kind of in. I wasn't living out of my car. I had an apartment, but I just kept everything kind of in my car as storage. So like the joke was whenever somebody needed something, I was always like, oh, wait, I have that in the trunk of my car. Called it the Mary Poppins mobile because like one time I think I was working at some place and they were like, man, we need a printer for this project coming. I was like, wait, I actually have a printer in my car. And I did. It was like a little laptop printer, but it got the job done. So
yeah, I can't say I've had a spare laptop in my car. That's pretty funny though.
No, but I guess speaking about getting the job done, you have some interesting topics for us today. I'm very excited to dive into a little bit on the mystic realm. Is that right?
Yeah, let's unpack this pretty deep and intriguing, interesting, and kind of, to me, it's kind of like weird. It kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. It shouldn't, because if it's real, it's kind of cool, but it still kind of makes me feel kind of weird. So for my topic this week, I want to take a deep dive into our inner selves. Let's breathe in and out and examine the mysterious and intriguing story about, or the theory about the pineal gland and how it could be the source of our souls.
The pineal gland, not to be mistaken with the pineal gland.
Yeah, that everyone says.
That's all I can say. I don't know. I'm 4 years old.
Yeah. So here we have the pineal gland. It's a very small little gland that is deep in pretty much the center of your brain.
Okay.
And I did a lot of research on salon.com, so I appreciate what I got from there. Just want to give them a shout out for all the information I got. And so documentation surrounding this theory that this gland is possibly houses our soul or is a gateway to immortality. This goes back centuries. It has been featured in essays, diagrams, sci-fi, and horror books, on even movies. Recently, we've had some kind of crazy movies like Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It gets touched on in there. The pineal gland, not for its spirituality, but what it could be used for in possible drug ways.
So this picture, I guess, for people just listening, if you're not on YouTube, is just the brain and kind of the location of where this gland is. And as you said, it's right in the center. It looks like kind of near the spinal cord base, or like up into your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll go into more of like kind of like where it is located and the stuff around it. We can kind of go.
It's tiny
right here. It's very tiny. I mean, it's because it's so tiny, it took a while for scientists to actually, and surgeons, not surgeons, but just, yeah, scientists who were doing like autopsies to really kind of find it and, see that it's kind of its own special feature of our human body. So it is, right above the cerebellum. And
Mm,
if I remember right, we'll go into it, but it's that kind of area, cerebellum, really handles a lot of our auditory and our visual mechanics, and so it's really close to that, and it's connected to that, and which we'll go into.
and that's in the
Uh,
back of your brain, kind of
the
back
cerebellum,
lobe,
yeah.
like
So
where your head lays on the pillow, kind of.
correct, and so that's why if you get it's really dangerous if you get hit in the back of the head because that can screw up so many things besides just your vision and your hearing. But that's just a very dangerous section, especially for like boxing. Like they don't want you to get punched in the back of the head, and it impacts everything. And your pineal gland can be impacted as well. And so kind of going back, it's impacted a lot of our culture. There's also a 2019 Netflix movie called Synchronic, which focuses on a synthetic drug that manipulates the pineal gland to alter how we experience time. There's an H.P. Lovecraft, famous author of sci-fi and horror books. He created a horror story called From Beyond that featured a mad scientist who invented a pineal gland stimulating machine to allow human beings to perceive other planes of reality. And we'll go a little bit more into that. But kind of like I said, and we kind of touched on it before, let's kind of take a deep dive into what exactly
Oh
is.
God.
I
Ugh.
know, it's kind of gross. Sorry,
Ew.
I should have told you. So the pineal
Spoil-
gland itself, you can see right here is the red arrow. It kind of looks like a pine cone. That's where it gets its name. According to healthdirect.com, the gland is cone shaped. It's an endocrine gland, important part of that system in the center of the brain, and it regulates the body's sleep cycle and internal clock. And it regulates these cycles by introducing to the body the chemical melatonin. I'm sure have
Ah.
you taken it before to kind of like help you go to sleep?
I took it like probably a couple times, tried the melatonin stuff to see. But then, the more I read up on melatonin, it's like the more you take it, the less and it lessens your ability to create your own. So I stopped taking it. I was like, I don't want to, mess up my brain's ability to do stuff. So
Right. It's you really should only do it just a little bit. If you really need sleep, sure, take it, but don't do it frequently because it can kind of mess up all sorts of little things that are normal.
I say a
I'll
better technique to fall asleep is just to do some exercise, and wear yourself out and you'll fall asleep.
Yeah, yeah. Or eat like maybe it's not necessarily healthy, but I've heard like some people eat like a high carb diet like right before bed, and that can
Yes, carbo load.
kind of like make you crash. But I don't know how necessarily healthy that is, like, spiking so many things.
Yeah.
Um, but I'll move back to here so I won't gross you out anymore.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Because
Uh,
it'll
so so this gland, not to be mistaken with the pituitary gland, which I think more people are probably familiar with. I'm not sure if you
right.
get into that one at all, but
No, but
that
from
one's more responsible for your growth and stuff, right? The
sure,
pituitary gland.
yeah, that gland did not help me whatsoever. So a jack
Uh,
shit gland, but whatever.
yeah, I think both of us probably didn't have that gland. We
Yeah,
don't.
we were not born with it.
Yeah.
I remember like my family, they considered like, doing whatever procedure or prescription I could have taken to kind of stimulate it more, but they didn't want to do it. They felt like it was kind of uncomfortable and, it's not natural, of course. But I don't know, having a few more inches would have been kind of cool, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. Who
Yeah.
needs the dunk?
Yeah.
Just lower the rim.
Just a little there. Done that a few times.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to, the pineal gland. So it receives information about the light and dark cycles that we experience every day from our environment, and this is through our vision. So all the nerves and information that come from our vision, it does get cycled. I don't know if it's like directly to the pineal gland. I'm sure it goes to other aspects of our brain, but a part of it goes to that gland, and that kind of triggers it like, oh, it's getting kind of dark. Time to introduce melatonin
Ah,
into the brain, so you get a little sleepy, so you can rest and rest your brain.
okay. So it's more of a chemical producing gland. And it's not so much a processing of information gland, I guess.
Mm-mm.
I'm not a brain doctor. I don't know how to say that properly, but I
Right.
guess that's the line of thinking, right?
Yeah. From what I get, that's kind of one of its main functions.
Okay.
And kind of like we were talking about how, taking too much melatonin, taking not enough. So melatonin levels are higher in children. And that kind of makes sense. Kids sleep a lot, and it's really to help benefit them. They're growing, they need rest. Rest helps them
Mm,
just like repair because their muscles are, ripping apart, getting bigger, constantly changing. A lot of energy is being burned. So it makes sense that a lot of melatonin would be needed for kids so they can just rest. Um,
were you a sleepy kid? Maybe that's what happened to us. We weren't like sleepy children. You didn't get the
I slept in late.
sure,
I
yeah.
I didn't have a problem sleeping in late. That's for sure. I was very energetic as a kid, so I think my melatonin levels were pretty normal.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and so obviously with that, melatonin decreases the production of it for humans. It decreases with age. Obviously we need sleep, but it's not as important as when we're growing. And kind of going back to what we said, like high levels of melatonin has been linked to, delayed sexual maturation. It kind of could go into some issues with that. So you don't want like too much of it, especially as an adult. Um,
Mm,
but I didn't really go into it, but also it helps regulate female reproductive hormones and all that. So
okay.
interesting natural chemical that is produced by our pineal gland.
Did it say is it roughly the same size in male and females, the gland, or
Um, I
did not
didn't see
say?
that. I know
Okay.
this the structure is very similar, and actually it's pretty similar among a lot of different vertebrates in the animal kingdom. So it's found in most vertebrates, and typically it has a similar structure among them too. Like I just said, we have a Dr. Gianluca Tosini of Morehouse School of Medicine that noted that the most striking difference, though, among the different species is that non-mammalian vertebrates, such as lizards, the pineal gland is directly photosensitive. It possesses a circadian clock that directly regulates melatonin synthesis, the main product of this gland.
It's a lot of big
And
words you're throwing around there, Zane.
I'm trying. I know I'm kind of butchering it,
No, you're
but
doing good. You're doing good.
but what's different though with like lizards and other kind of few vertebrates that are different than humans is that the their pineal gland connects directly to an external par- parietal eye that is located on the top of lizards' heads. So
Okay.
let's watch like a little video of a lizard, and you can kind of get an idea of what this looks like on lizards. So
Bearded dragons have a third eye on top of their heads called a parietal eye.
parietal,
Oh, that little dot right there. Okay.
right? Yeah.
Their parietal eye is like their other eyes with a cornea, a retina, and a lens, but without an iris.
What?
Yeah, it's weird.
The parietal eye does not connect to the optic nerve like the lateral eyes, but connects to the parietal gland via the pineal gland.
Huh.
Because of this, the parietal eye helps to regulate body temperature, hormone production, the sleep cycle, appetite, balance, and navigation. It also helps your dragon know if it's night or day. Essentially, the third eye senses light, darkness, and UV light. It does not see images, detect color, see shapes, nor does it blink. Be mindful of this third eye when approaching your beardy from above.
Don't get poked in the third eye, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. I I've been into lizards and stuff like that, but I wasn't really certain I knew all that about their little eye hole up on the brain stem there. But I guess that would kind of be indicative of this gland being part of like the ancient makeup of your brain, like it's the primordial, yeah, lizard brain, as I
Right.
guess they call it, right?
Yeah. We say we all have like lizard brains, so maybe we just have kind of a one that doesn't function as well as maybe these lizards or other vertebrates that still have them. Um, because looking through this, I couldn't see if the whole photosensitive part is completely missing in our pineal gland, but there may be still like a little bit of function there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real like chimney directly up from your brain hole. Like we don't got that. Although babies got that soft spot on their heads, but I
They
guess that's
do.
more for fusing their skulls together. I guess, but maybe they used to be open. I don't know. That's I
Well, I
guess
don't
it's
know.
kind of like stoplight, not stoplights. Traffic. Night. What are those lights called outside? Street lights.
Street-
Yeah, street lights. When it gets dark, their little sensors tell it, and then the lights come on.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
like that, but for animals and lizards and stuff.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I've kind of developed a little parietal eye just with my little patch of hair that's like sticking out right here. So
Yes, your hairs can sense the darkness.
yeah, so it's a new mutant adaptation that's occurred with my
Yeah.
nearing middle age. But if people have looked into this as they discovered, like, oh wow, this is kind of cool. Humans have this interesting, unique gland. Certain type of vertebrates, like lizards, have it, and especially for them, they have like this kind of like third eye. Could this be like inspiration or a physical representation of kind of the Eastern, excuse
Yeah.
me, the Eastern like myth, not myth,
Belief.
but like belief, like kind of in this third eye, where you kind of
Mm,
sense more. There's more to this reality.
okay.
So interesting stuff. Uh, but we kind of want to now we're looking at this very interesting little art right here.
Okay.
Let's get into the
This would be like what more people think of when you say third eye, like that
yeah.
normal two human eyes and then that third eyeball and kind of the center of your forehead.
Right. And so there are other, we'll go into another philosophy that kind of really is interested or was interested and is almost obsessed with kind of like the Eastern mysticism that really goes into this third eye thoughts. But, we'll go into the metaphysical, but let's kind of stick with kind of the science here. One to go back to, well, I don't know, maybe science, I don't know. This is more of a philosopher, but we're going to go back to the 17th century and we're going to take a look at French born philosopher Rene Descartes.
Okay.
Here he is right here. So he was one of the first, if not the first, philosophers, brilliant minds to argue that the pineal gland is the principal seat of your soul. And he based this assertion on the anatomical features he perceived in the gland. As he noticed that the gland, compared to so many other pieces of the brain, it was kind of solo. It was his own thing. Whereas, especially with the major hemispheres of the brain, it's two. So he thought, does that mean there's special significance? Um,
What year was this guy around?
17th century,
17.
so
Okay.
very far back. Uh, and he believed that the mind and the soul were separate entities. So this seemingly separate structure, the pineal gland, maybe this was the spots, the source of the soul. And we have another little video that kind of goes into this a little bit more.
His flavor saver, not the source of the soul.
Right,
Although
flavors.
very strong. Wow, a lot of clicking going on.
I know. This is a good summary here.
The idea that the mind and body are separate and different dates back to Plato and the ancient Greeks, but it was the 17th century philosopher René Descartes who first described in detail the mind-body relationship. Descartes wrote Man, his first philosophical book, in 1633, in which he describes the dualism of mind and body. The non-material mind or soul, Descartes says, is seated in the brain's pineal gland doing the thinking, while the body is like a machine that operates by animal spirits or fluids flowing through the nervous system to cause movement. This idea had been popularized in the 2nd century by Galen, who attached it to his theory of the humors. But Descartes was the first to describe it in detail and to emphasize the separation of mind and body. In a letter to the French philosopher Marin Mersenne, Descartes explains that the pineal gland is the seat of thought, and so must be the home of the soul, because the one cannot be separated from the other. This was important because otherwise the soul would not be connected to any solid part of the body, he said, only to the psychic spirits. Descartes imagined the mind and body interacting for an awareness of the animal spirits that were said to flow through the body. The mind, or soul, residing in the pineal gland, located deep within the brain, was thought to sometimes become aware of the moving spirits, which then caused conscious sensation. In this way, the body could affect the mind. Likewise, the mind could affect the body by causing an outflow of animal spirits to a particular region of the body, initiating action. Taking his inspiration from the French formal gardens of Versailles, with their hydraulic system that supply water to the gardens and their elaborate fountains, Descartes describes the spirit of the body operating the nerves and muscles, like the force of water. The fountains were controlled by a fountainer, and here Descartes found an analogy for the mind. He explained, "There is a reasoning
This is
soul in
pretty
this
gnarly art right here.
it has its principal site in the brain, where it is
That's weird.
the reservoir, whither all the pipes of the machine are extended, when he wishes to start, stop, or in some way alter their action." While philosophers still argue as to whether the mind and brain are somehow different entities, most psychologists equate the mind with the workings of the brain. However, in practical terms, the distinction between mental and physical health is a complex one. The two are closely linked when mental stress is said to cause physical illness or when chemical imbalances affect the brain. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it,
I feel like I need to take notes for that one.
Yeah.
It was, but basically, it was just saying the stuff like the with the imagery and the pipes coming out your mouth and stuff like that was like that's the source of flowing energy or something.
Yeah, it got a little trickier there with the whole pipe face, but I
Pipe
think
face.
I think basically there was like a center control area in your brain, and he felt like it was connected to the pineal gland, where like your mind and thought was the central focus of yourself, but you also had machinery going around you, and the body was
Hmm.
basically a machine.
Okay.
That's how I took it. But kind of looking to the history of Descartes, there were a lot of people that disagreed with him. They felt, and I feel like that's more of a kind of the secular idea these days, is that the mind and body are, very much linked. There isn't some separation, or the idea of a separated soul as is like the thought. So
Hmm.
he was kind of lambasted for that, but still interesting. What do you think? Do you have, not to like show your complete philosophical beliefs, but do you think there's an idea that maybe there is some sort of separation?
Yeah, so I think so because I don't know. I guess I'll share an experience I had with like kind of like an out of body type of experience.
Hmm.
So this was back over 10 years ago, and I had to have my gallbladder removed. Right, so I had surgery for that, and when you get out, they give you medication to help with the pain, whatever, and. It wasn't anything like too crazy. They gave me some hydrocodone was the medication. And I remember I was taking that for a couple days and I didn't like it because it made me super paranoid. Like out of my mind, like I thought people were in the room, something was coming at me, like stuff like that. Anyways, so I remember I'd have trouble falling asleep because I thought people were in the room and stuff like I was just so paranoid to fall asleep. Tripped me out. It was horrible. But I remember I was laying in bed and I was trying to fall asleep, but I couldn't because I was paranoid. And then all of a sudden I like kind of like zoomed out of my body. Right. So like I saw like
Wow.
I'm laying there in the bed and I just like like you're looking down on yourself, but then I just go like like really fast, kind of like up into outer space, right? So like I saw the top of the house, roof, whatever, as I kind of went out of my body but it was super fast. Like I just zing. And I remember I was like, and that freaked me out because I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to get back into my body. So I kind of like just forced myself to get back in my body. And then like that, I was back into my body.
How high did you get?
I mean, I was in orbit, like, I think, but it was like, Google Earth, like it was just like,
Ugh,
like really, it happened so fast, and
holy
that's why I
shit!
freaked out because I didn't really have time to comprehend it or anything like that. So I don't know if that was just the drugs I was on, but to me, it felt like a very real out of body experience, and I was like, nope, I'm not having this. I'm going back into my body, and I didn't take any more medicine after that.
Wow, that was
Yeah.
a good call. Do you know if there was any type of health event that happened to you that triggered that?
No, it was all from my surgery that I had to have,
Right.
right? So I was recovering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So I
at
mean,
that
I was.
particular second, there wasn't like your heart stopped or something,
Oh
right?
no, no, I didn't feel like I died or anything like that. It just kind of like had an out of body experience, and to some extent, I know other people have had it that I know, like they've had this situation happen to them, not without without medications and stuff like that, but they've had out of body experience where they kind of just float in the room and see themselves
Right.
doing whatever it is they're doing, and then they go back into their body. So kind of people that have been related to me, so they're credible. Um, but it's very very weird, I guess, sensation to have, and that's why I think, to answer your question, yeah, I think like the soul and body can be separated and have they're connected in some way, but
Mhm.
what that is, I don't know. How about
Yeah.
you? Ever have an out of body experience?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
That would be crazy. I feel like I remember you did tell me that story a while back, but to hear in
Mhm.
detail is pretty amazing. I can see how that'd be pretty freaky. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think obviously now we know how mental health can really affect our physical health. So there definitely is a connection. But yeah, the big question is, you know, is there some sort of separation? And it sounds like I don't know. Your experience shows there might be some sort of separation there, which is that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Pretty
and I
cool.
did read the label on the hydrocodone, and out of body experience was not one of the side effects. Nor I don't think paranoia was either. So, but I don't know, it messed with me some sort of way. So,
Oh, yeah, you had
yeah,
a crazy reaction. Yikes.
yeah. And I remember like the girlfriend I was dating at the time. She's like, "Oh, that sounds awesome. Can I try some hydrocodone?" I was like, "Well, okay, if you want. I'm not using it anymore, but I don't recommend taking other people's, prescription drugs. But whatever." So.
Well, I'm glad you're not with her anymore. That sounds like a red flag right there.
Yeah, I mean, there was other red flags, but that was the least.
Huh.
Uh,
Well, speaking of red flags, we got this lady right here.
oh, is that what was her name? The Blavatsky.
Yeah. Okay. Good job. I guess
All
you're
right.
familiar. Well, what do you know about her? You can go right into it if you know.
Oh, she started the Theological Society. What was it called?
It's
The
the theosophy.
Theosophy, that's it, yeah. And she was kind of like one of the founders of the New Age movement back in the day. A lot of things today stem from that or her group.
Mhm.
I think was Conan Doyle might have been involved with that, and some other fairly prominent people. Controversial with the root races and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess a key figure in New Age circles.
Right. And she was also just very into kind of the Eastern spirituality and mysticism. So from the 19th century, Ukrainian, but yeah, she created this theosophy philosophy. That's where do I have it? Blah, 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 a form of occultism which emphasizes, like I said, on Eastern philosophies. And she was a big fan of actually Descartes. Like I said, there were people who detracted against him. They're like, I know your views are BS. But she was quoted saying, the pineal gland is that which the Eastern occultists call Devaka, might be saying that wrong, or the divine eye or third eye. And to this day, it is the chief and foremost organ of spirituality in the human brain. She praised Descartes, arguing that unscientific as this may appear in our day of exact learning. So I guess at that time of the 19th century, Descartes was actually, closer to the cult truth that she believed in and her followers. And she's also said for the pineal gland, as shown, is far more connected with soul and spirit than with the kind of the body senses of man. And yeah, kind of really was into this idea of the whole third eye.
And she was big into like you were saying, the Western religions and I guess theories of
Eastern.
yeah, Eastern, sorry,
Yeah.
with like the ascended masters and being contacted by like I guess yogi type of figures and stuff like that. And yeah, very very occult and very interesting. She'd probably be a whole episode of of
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah. That could be a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, but we can kind of like look at more so the Western kind of idea of this going into more of a religious section here. So the cultural and historic impact of the pineal gland, it doesn't just lie with mysticism or kind of like new age philosophies. There's also a theory that the Roman Catholic Church knows of the gland's significance. In the Vatican City, there is the.
Mm.
Do you know about this?
No, but
No.
it looks like a pineapple or a pine cone.
Right. So this is the Fontana della Pigna. Sorry for my Italian, but it was a former fountain. It's now just kind of in like a little closed off area in the Vatican, still for public viewing. But theorists, researchers, and even personalities such as the very famous Joe Rogan believe that this statue directly represents the pineal gland as a possible spiritual doorway, putting emphasis on the existence of the soul. One thing that's interesting, what do you see kind of adjacent to the pine cone there?
So okay, so I see you got your pine cone fountain, and then it's
Mhm.
flanked by two, looks like peacocks.
Correct.
Two peacocks, and this is in the square center of the Vatican. Is this where
Yeah,
this
I
is?
think it's like in a little, alcove type
Okay.
area, probably just off the square. But and according to early Christian art, peacocks represent immortality, and that stems from an
Mm.
idea from ancient Greeks that believed that peacock flesh did not die or rot away. So there's a lot of
Huh.
things you
Never
can
heard that
unpack
one.
here. Right. I usually think of that type of thing for a phoenix, but I never heard of peacocks
Yeah.
representing immortality.
I guess
But
you know
go ahead.
what? Maybe because people like, have you ever had peacock? Like eaten it?
No.
Maybe they're keeping that a secret to keep us from having immortality, and all like the elite are they're eating, instead of turkeys for Thanksgiving, they're eating peacocks, getting immortal.
Maybe I should try that. I can get rid of my hair, third eye, and grow my hair back or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So what does the Vatican say about these peacocks in the pine cone thing? Do they have a
Well,
they say something different?
I didn't see anything about like an official word from the Vatican, but I know it's kind of the whole idea of this topic kind of came from a Joe Rogan episode. But he talks about he went to the Vatican with his family and visited, took like a really in-depth tour, and they reached this part at the Vatican, and the tour guy was like, "Hey, what is this? What does it look like?" And people are like, "Oh, it looks like a pine cone." And he's like, or Joe Rogan said that he's like, "That's correct." And why do you think that is? And he's like, "Well, it's symbolic." And I guess Joe Rogan did research on this. It's symbolic of the pineal gland, which is like a window to the soul. So you have this tour guide who is possibly affiliated with the Vatican, maybe not, but interesting that are very Joe Rogan made it sound like this guy was legit and official. So, who knows? That's a good question.
Okay, so they he didn't expound on like what the Vatican tour guide was saying. Well, it actually represents the Saint Pinecone guy or whatever. I don't know, but
The official saint of pine cones.
Saint of Pinecones.
No, he said it was symbolic of the pineal gland and how it's like that gland is like a gateway to
Hmm.
immortality, or you can think of it as like the source of our soul. So
Did it get into like at the base of this fountain? Has like a bunch of like I guess naked dudes around it or whatever. Did it mention it
uh,
who those people were or anything? Just
uh,
probably decorative.
maybe like angels or something. That's a good eye right there. We'll have to
Ah.
look into that and maybe provide some notes there.
Don't you have the Pope on speed dial, Zane? Call him up.
I'm Catholic.
Yeah.
I should. That's part
You
of
should.
our
Yeah.
doctrine. Yeah.
That's cool. I never knew that about peacocks. I'm like, I'm gonna try some peacock. They look very beautiful, and I bet they're delicious.
They might be. I could see they could be kind of lean. Maybe they're like
Yeah.
duck or something. I don't know. I've
Well,
never
ducks
heard
are kind of fatty.
Oh, you're right. They are.
I think maybe like a quail or pheasanty,
Yeah,
perhaps.
that makes more sense. But yeah, it's an intriguing question. We can have that and we can live forever.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to jump from, looking at, Eastern, Western religions, mythologies, mysticism. Now we're going to go into more of the psychedelic and how maybe the pineal gland leads to some trippy things. And there's a part here that might remind you of your little vision, Josh.
Okay.
So kind of go back to Joe Rogan real quick. He's from what I gather from listening to him, he's kind of a big believer that there are areas in your brain, maybe the pineal gland, that release chemicals, not just melatonin, but natural chemicals like DMT, which is a chemical that can cause really intense hallucinations, among other things. And it gets even deeper. He thinks that whole religions were started way back in the day because of their experiences with hallucinogens and all that. So, but that's
Tripping on mushrooms.
Yeah, that goes down the rabbit hole. It's still very interesting. So that's what he kind of thinks, that the gland might actually release, and other people might think that it releases chemicals besides melatonin, like DMT. So let's go into DMT. We have psychiatrist Rick Strassman, who teaches at the University of New Mexico School of Medicine, and he wrote the book. There we go. He wrote the book DMT, the Spirit Molecule, and he was trying to study the pineal gland because of its history and esoteric physiology, the anatomical location of subjective experience of exalted spiritual states. That's a lot to say. And he wondered if the pineal gland might produce a chemical called DMT, and it's dimethyltryptamine.
Mm-hmm.
I know I said that wrong. But like I said before, it has a psychedelic effect on people similar to religious experiences. So maybe the founders of all the religions that we know, maybe they had experiences with this or something else, and that spawned religion. Who knows? These experiences include disembodied consciousness, Josh,
Yeah.
overwhelming emotions. I don't like how I feel here. A feeling of spiritual serenity. You didn't have that. Sorry.
No.
Visual and auditory hallucinations, and so on.
Maybe I could start my own religion, Zane. I could base it off of my out-of-body experience.
What would you call the religion? That's an important factor in it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess it would have to be something, I guess, uplifting for people or something, right? So, I don't know.
The dogma of the Joshua tree.
Yeah, Joshua tree in the infinite space.
Perfect.
I don't know.
I'm a converter.
All right. Yeah. We meet on
converted.
Wednesdays,
Okay.
and everybody has to bring their own tapas dish or some kind of appetizer.
Well, I was hoping for free coffee and donuts, so I'm out. I'm not in.
No, bring BYOA. Bring your own appetizer. That's
right.
part of your tithing to the Church of Me. So.
Well, tapas are delicious, so that is kind of a little better than coffee and donuts.
Yeah, everyone shares. We're very very loose with it. Whatever, everybody just bring something you like and share it.
Sounds very new age and chill and relaxed.
It is. We're great. You'll love the people, Zane.
Sounds good. Looking forward to joining your cult.
Yeah, once you join, you'll never want to leave. Never.
Speaking of, I don't know if this has to deal with cults, but kind of intense actions that this Strassman took, but I guess he was legally able to do it. But he was able to do extensive research on the subject of DMT because he was the first scientist to legally administer psychedelic drugs such as DMT in the United States. And so we have a little bit of an interview right here.
Okay. What's his name again?
Rick Strassman.
Rick Strassman. Okay.
This is pretty quick though, but he's talking about how his patients were in this medical facilities, and he would administer this DMT, and he talked about how that may have been kind of an intense situation for them, just because being in a hospital is kind of stressful for some
Okay.
people at least. But he
Okay.
talks about it.
Well, go ahead.
But he talks about how this it may have helped. But here you go.
And in some ways, the hospital environment was really obnoxious. It was noisy, it was smelly, it was bright, it was really very sort of, it was it was an extremely aversive environment for people to take psychedelics in. But at the same time, the fact that so many people felt so dissociated on DMT that they were totally out of their bodies, didn't know if they'd be coming back. That
Josh.
there was a
Mhm.
vague glimmering in the back of their minds that, well, I'm safe. I'm in a hospital. If my heart does stop, if I do have a stroke, that I could be resuscitated. As grim and as dire and as clinical as that sounds, that was part of the reassuring nature of people being in the hospital at that time.
Yeah, that sounds more like what I experienced.
Yeah.
Although I don't know fully one-to-one relation, but our brain's weird. That guy kind of looked like Bill Nye a little bit.
Yeah, he did. Seems a little bit more serious than Bill Nye, though.
Yeah, I don't really hot take. I wasn't a big Bill Nye fan. Beekman's World, much better show for science. He had a green lab coat, and he had like a sidekick that was like a rat. It was like a dude in a rat suit, and then like a office assistant type of girl, and they would do science experiments. Beekman's World. It was much better than Bill Nye.
Just for the audience, real quick.
Okay, you got a picture of Beekman here.
I forgot about this guy. Oh, that's right. His assistant was dressed as a rat. You may have said that, but
yeah, I did. Yeah, that's him.
What was that on?
I don't remember the channel it came on, but it came on around the same time as Bill Nye. 90s and stuff like that.
He was a competitor, I guess.
Yeah, he was way cooler. Bill Nye was a dork. So
I will say though, when our teachers put him on and we didn't have to do like a regular class, I was always very jazzed. Like I like Bill Nye. Later when he got a little preachy with like his politics, I was like, man, you ruined my, like, I'm trying to think of you in a positive light as a child, but whatever.
Yeah,
people can say what they want.
He's no Mr. Wizard, that's for sure.
Right.
The original Bill
Nye. But this doesn't have to do with anything positive, fun, science, children's stories, or anything. But I'm gonna show you a clip of something that's kind of crazy, and this might give you some flashbacks too.
Okay.
I'll try to do this more often. If I can find connections to movies, I will. And if I could promote some movies, I will, because they're fun. So obviously DMT, it's kind of part of the cultural spotlight, maybe like a subculture type thing. There's this 2009 movie called Enter the Void. It's a very independent foreign movie.
I'm out.
You want to do it? Well, it's all in English, but it takes place it takes place in Japan. Like the characters are, English, maybe they're British or something there. But basically it's about these are young kids. The young kid is the main guy is like a drug dealer, and he smokes DMT before like going to a party, but then a drug deal goes bad and he gets shot by Japanese police, and he starts dying while he's already like high on DMT, and so it gets crazy. So just I want to show you a little bit of the teaser, just to kind of show you guys what this all is all about.
And this was a movie you were in?
No, I was not in this one.
Okay.
It's kind of a hard movie to watch.
Okay. I'll full screen it here.
Thanks.
Okay, got shot, bloody hands, passed out by a toilet.
And now he has like a disembodied experience.
Okay. It's like in a Las Vegas-y type city, all
It's in Tokyo.
hedonism of Tokyo. The void. So, like, is this his body's floating over the city?
Basically.
Okay.
So if you're into watching kind of some trippy, darker movies, I recommend that one. It's pretty good.
Okay. And you said it's in English.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
There are people who are, I think, British who live in Tokyo.
Okay. I hate reading on movies. Like I'm missing all the action because I'm reading, and your tiny little subtitles. So it's like, ugh, please.
Yeah, I've gotten more used to it. I used to hate it, but I guess I've turned to the dark side.
I can do it with some things like anime and stuff when they have. It depends on the thing, but yeah, that looks cool. Kind of maybe I'll check out that movie, The Void. You said is what it's called.
Yeah, it's one of those like you probably only need to see once, but it's
okay.
There's some really cool cinematic shots they do. Like you could probably see there was a lot of like model sets they were using because they're like he's like floating above the city, and there's a lot of different like one take shots. And so, if you're into the artsy art house movies, this is a good one. So, but it goes into the whole idea of, what does DMT do upon the brain? And we'll do just kind of wrap up. We'll kind of like go into more of like kind of the science of it too. So going back to Strassman, he published a paper demonstrating that DMT in living rodent pineal glands. And he said at first he found that it didn't appear that the DMT reported in his first findings that they were contained in actually, the brain part of the pineal gland, but it was kind of more so on the outside. But nevertheless, he did discover that the requisite enzymes for DMT synthesis do occur in the pineal.
Okay, so it makes all the things that you would need to make the DMT.
Kind of like it goes into like, is it like a transmitter, like how it shoots out melatonin? So maybe it does the same thing for DMT. And he says like perhaps the function of this endogenous DMT neurotransmitter is to regulate our sense of reality. So that's, we have the melatonin aspects that regulates our sleep cycles, but is that what the point of the DMT transmitter, if it does indeed exist there? His ideas, they eventually found their way to a Dr. Jimo Borjan, a molecular and integrative physiologist. Thank you, physiologist. Science, medical words.
Yes.
And he was at the University of Michigan Medical School. He found elevated spikes of DMT in dying rodent brains that suggested that DMT could not only play the kind of role where we live, but also experience near-death experiences. So there's this idea that when you're passing away, your brain is firing, but also maybe it's distributing DMT, and it's kind of making you see a lot of different things. What the reason for that is, I'm not sure. But this isn't an established belief. Some people believe it, but it's
you
interesting.
ever have a near-death experience, saying like that?
No, hopefully not in a very long time. I remember my mom was driving me. We were going to DC, and I was sleeping in the passenger seat, and I woke up, and I guess I looked up quickly at the other side of the road where traffic was coming this way. And I thought the semi was about to just like smack us. But I guess it was just like going that way and we were going that way. And so I thought we were about to be just annihilated. And I remember in that moment, like I was like, all right, well, I've lived a pretty good life, short as it was because I was a kid then, but I was happy and I accepted.
You're
I
ready
closed
to
my
go.
I closed my eyes like if it was like a movie, like a dramatic movie, and
Okay.
but nothing happened, and I think it just I woke up and my depth perception was off or something like that.
I can imagine little Zane there, like, I'm ready, mama. Just
I'm
take me.
I'm coming home.
It's the big one, Elizabeth.
Yeah,
What's this?
yeah, it was weird. I thought it was it. I was like, I had all those thoughts, like a lot of thoughts kind of went through my head in that 1 second, but
Hmm.
it was nothing. I think I woke up and it was dreary.
I did have another thing that kind of happened to me that was kind of interesting, like a near death experience, but not really. So I was playing soccer, and I remember I fell down because I tripped, or someone tripped me, and I fell like awkwardly, like on my arms where my elbow kind of slammed up into my diaphragm,
Mhm.
and then like it takes your knock your wind away, right? You've had that. Most people have when they're playing some
Yeah,
sort of sport. You can't breathe, and you're just like,
not a good feeling. Oh,
not a good feeling. So anyway, so this happened to me, and I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen because I can't breathe. It's going to take a few moments for you to catch your breath and be able to breathe normal. But because I'm playing soccer, and I wasn't a young kid anymore, so not the best of shape, but so what happened was that your body's already drained of oxygen, right? So it's harder for you to keep all your functions and awake, right? So I pass out, right? But like I'm crawling on the ground because I'm trying to catch my breath. I'm like, okay, well, I just keep calm because if you panic, it makes it worse or whatever. So then I pass out, and then during this time that I'm passed out, it's like I had like the life flash before your eyes type of thing. They say when you're near death experience, but it was weird because like I wasn't about to die. I knew it wasn't because it was just like my wind got knocked out of me. So, but like it was very quick, and I was very hazy on my memory on what exactly happened. But I just remember seeing a lot of people, right, and just kind of like there was like a light type of tunnel thing that people say. I don't really recall anything. Like I wasn't like, oh, go to the light, go back. Nothing of that. Just like bunch of people I knew, whatever, and a light that was there. Like it was there. I could have went through, but I didn't because it wasn't anything really. And I just remember, and then I woke up and like my teammates had my arms up trying to help me because when you do that, you're still trying to breathe, but you can't breathe. So they just had my arms held up, and then I woke back up. It was a few seconds, so I was like,
wow.
oh, that was weird. So it's like not really a near death experience because I wasn't dying. I just had lack of oxygen going to the brain,
Right.
which lots of people have experienced, but just that whole like flashing your life before your eyes type of thing was weird. And then that
Huh.
light, that bright light tunnel that you hear about with people having near death experiences. Um, was kind of an interesting thing. So maybe something to do with oxygen to my pineal gland.
Maybe. Was the two questions? Was the
Yeah.
light, was it very much in focus? Was it like gigantic, if you're in front of like a subway tunnel and then
Yeah, it was kind of like that. It was big, but I mean there was a edge around it, so you could see like it was like a hole that you could go into, but it was very very bright, so you couldn't really make out anything around the edges and stuff like that. I mean, I think from what I remember, the bodies, the people that I knew were kind of like just standing around it. But you couldn't
oh
really make them out like clearly. Like it wasn't like I could see
wow.
you right now. It was more like almost silhouetted, but kind of soft, hazier. So it's just kind of a weird.
So you saw some figures. Wow.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
and then even though you said you don't remember the exact memories, how many like memories do you think you saw? Like
Man,
5?
I mean, it was like it was like a rolling, like just a bunch of like that kind of thing. way back from when I was a kid, up to adult. But it was very, very fast, but it felt like I was kind of experiencing it all at
Mhm.
once, you know. But I
Wow.
don't recall like kind of like you're saying, it was like a few things like stood out, from those memories. But it wasn't like I don't really recall which ones they were. It was just very clear, like, oh, like I'm just making this up. It was like, oh, there's me eating cereal that one time, or whatever. Boom, next thing. It was very, very quick and weird.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of had a similar thing happen, but and I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, but like I was donating plasma and I was an idiot and I didn't drink enough water, didn't eat enough.
Mm.
So I, as you can probably guess, I got on the verge of passing out. And that is a weird feeling. And basically my vision turned into like a red orangish kaleidoscope.
Oh,
So just, you know, obviously that's
but you were
just
conscious the whole time.
yeah, but I could feel myself going downhill. I was like, this
Yeah.
sucks. This is not good. Um, so that was kind of interesting. It's interesting what your body does in those situations.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like, brain's a weird thing, man.
hmm It's a crazy thing, and it's kind of like we know a lot, but I think it's still kind of like the deep sea. There's so much we don't know yet. We're trying to
Hmm.
figure out. Um, and let's see. Is there anything else we can kind of go into? Well, Strauss, like he basically goes into this idea that if there's a DMT neurotransmitter in the pineal gland, you know, is it affecting our everyday reality consciousness, or is it doing it just at death? Is there something more to it? And he basically kind of wrapped up saying, Descartes may have been onto something, that this gland is unique and there's more that we need to look into, and it might be a connection to the great big mystery.
Huh, so it's like still kind of a scientific conundrum of what this gland does. Like, I mean, I guess scientists know the basics of it, but there's not like a big field of study on it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for the whole endocrine system, and for a lot of like regulation around the body. We know that scientifically, but
Hmm.
this whole idea that it could be, injecting, melatonin, but also, what else is it doing? And it's kind of weird that maybe it's doing it right at death or during extreme moments in our lives. So it's,
I
it's
know a
something
lot
to
of
be studied.
people. I know a lot of people nowadays are like, well, oh, we got modern science, we know everything about the body and stuff like that. But I think like even with things that are more well known in the body, like the it was the appendix. Most people thought for years and years, oh, it's just kind of a vestigial organ. It doesn't really do anything nowadays in humans. That's why you can remove it and nothing happens. But now they're kind of thinking that, oh, well, actually, we think it kind of like holds on to like your good gut bacteria or whatever. So like if you get really sick or something, it has a reserve that can kind of replenish your body. I think that's what I don't quote me on that. I'm not a doctor, but I think that's what they think kind of goes on with it now.
Mhm.
It's not like super important, obviously, because you can get by without it. But same thing for maybe your
Pineal,
pineal gland.
yeah,
It's just like we don't really have all the answers yet. It's kind of what goes on in your brain. I don't know.
yeah. It's still a mystery, and probably will be for a little while until maybe we join with AI, and then we can finally understand. I don't know. That's another topic.
Oh yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So do you think like so do you think like your soul is connected to this thing, or maybe it is detachable from your body? I don't know, like with Catholicism, how that lines up and stuff, but
I think it's like a mix.
Mhm.
Like there is a connection there with our bodies. It's kind of like what Descartes said, like, bodies are, it's kind of like our machine, but our consciousness, kind of our soul, I think it's connected, but it can disconnect too.
Mhm.
It's something different. This is interesting to me, like to learn that there might be a source of it or a spot. But I guess that would make sense. But you hear things too of like when people pass away, there's been some scientific studies on it, like that there's some sort of electrical energy type thing. There's some sort of discharge that happens. And so is that soul escaping? I don't know.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know. I love the stories of people who have like near death experiences and they come back like they die medically, but their consciousness is still in the room or something. And when they come
mhm.
back, they're like, "Hey, doctors, you were talking about this, this, and this, and oh, on the ceiling fan there was something on the back end,
Mhm.
like, and you
Yeah.
couldn't see it from the thing unless you were floating out of your body." So
Right.
that stuff's all very, very fascinating.
Yeah. I know of that account.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Crazy. Yeah. They remember the numbers or something on the fan. Yeah. That's right.
yeah,
Oof. But yeah, that's it. That's
okay.
the mystery and the secrets of the pineal gland.
Do you think now this is maybe a little bit related to like the third eye, consciousness type of thing? Did you ever heard of like trepanning or trepanation?
Sounds kind of intense though.
Yeah, it's like a practice where people like drill a hole in their head to let air get into their brain and helps open up their third eye. I do not recommend doing this, but it's like a procedure. I think people have to do it to themselves because doctors won't do this
Oh,
type of procedure.
yeah.
So, but I mean, there's people who have done this to themselves and drilled a hole in their head, and so the air can get in there and they get enlightened or whatever because the extra oxygen helps open up your third eye or whatever. But yeah, apparently, like old Neolithic skulls and stuff like that, they have like holes in their head, right? Like
Wow.
surgery was performed on them or something like that. Um, it was probably something to do with like releasing pressure on the brain, but a lot of people think that once you do that, it lets air in there and you can see all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't know. Maybe Joe Rogan will do something.
Interesting. He probably knows about it at least.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's done
Yeah.
a episode on that or two. But yeah, I don't think I would ever do something like that. That seems very dangerous and extremely painful. But
And then you're gonna have a scar for the rest of your life, so you'll have like a little scar of a third
yeah,
eye right there.
or you got to wear a bandana.
Yeah.
But
Or
maybe to kind of go along with that, Zane, I had a song that I thought was what this episode was more about, the third eye thing. For
Mhm.
this episode, let's share this song, Zane, and listeners, see how you like it. Very mystical.
Yes.
Light within my mind, hidden gems so hard to find. Third eye open, see the signs. Pineal sounds funny, don't mind. Ancient knowledge, deep and wise. Through the darkness shines surprise. Meditate and break the ties. Enlightenment, the third eye lies. Open up your third eye. Feel enlightened, don't be shy. Laugh at words, it's no lie. Pineal gland will make you fly.
So that's kind of
Right.
that song there. Third eye will make you fly. I think that would be cool if you could do that.
Apparently it did it for you. On
You
some
did, yes. It was freaky. It was very, very frightening. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
that's crazy. Well, I guess that's a good sign off right there. Everyone, enjoy your weekend and let the pineal gland make you fly.
Yeah, fly with your pineal gland,
Yeah.
and also share us on the
Oh yeah.
socials and everything where you find us on.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, third
All
eye out.
right.
Tiny pinecone sits inside, opens up your inner eye. Josh flew out to distant sky. That's the magic pure and high. Zane craves peacock delight, sings a song through the night. Secrets kept out of sight, Vatican knows in the light. Pineal gland, what do you see? Source of power, mystery. Eternal life, could it be? Unlocking mortality. Whispered tales, ancient secrets kept from days of yore. Beyond the stars, across the tides, in the journeys where we glide. Third eye open wide inside, seek the truth.